Hi, I'm MichaelO'Hanian, Client Technology Specialist from Dell. Today, I want to talk about video conferencing, right? We live in a world now of Teams and Zooms and collaboration, and the environments that we work in are greatly different than it was a few years ago. It used to be, having a camera on your notebook was kind of nice to have, but not necessarily a necessity. To now, looking at camera technology and sound technology is critical to your job. Whether you're working at home full time, you do a hybrid model where you work some days at home and some days at work, or even if you're working at your office full time. What I want to review today are three devices. Individually, they're worth their own review, but what I want to do today is talk about how these three devices come together to build a great solution for you. And in fact, this is what I use at my home office for work. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. But there are really three devices I want to focus in on today. First is going to be the Dell UltraSharp 4K webcam. Awesome device. It is part number WB7022. On the other end here, I've got the Dell Premier wireless active noise canceling headset, part number WL7022. And in the middle, love this little device. This is the Dell mobile adapter speakerphone, part number MH3021P. But what I want to do is kind of go over these individually. Then I'll show you how I use it at my desk and my desk setup. And then I'll teach you a couple little tricks to even better make these devices work in your environment. So let's go ahead and start. We'll start with the Dell UltraSharp 4K webcam. So let's look at this Dell UltraSharp 4K webcam. Before we even begin, I mean, one of the things when I first got this out of the box that I noticed is that it is a really nice metallized type of material on it. So solidly built. It's not plastic, and it's not overly huge either. The other thing you'll notice in the front here, you got the Dell logo. This is a magnetized kind of security cap for it, and what's nice on the reverse side, it's magnetized on the back, so you can put this away as you need it. Just kind of slap it on the back, and it goes in really nice. There are two attachments that come with this. One of them here, and this is for your monitor. What's nice about it, this is also magnetized. You can kind of see how that pulled in there, but it snaps in there, and then this just kind of connects onto the edge of the back of your monitor there, and you can see you got some play in that and some movement to adjust it around. So real nice design in that front. The other piece is for doing like a mounting on a tripod. Again, it just kind of snaps. Let's get it the right way. Snaps right in there. But if I've got, say like a tripod, and here's a small one, to kind of show you, it just screws into the top of the tripod like that. And in fact, this is the camera I'm using right now to record this YouTube clip. So when it comes to webcams in general, there's a few different technologies out there that are not necessarily understood by most people. One, there's the webcam itself, and the technologies that go in there to create better pictures. The second piece of it, you'll hear is something called an infrared camera, an IR camera. This model here has both the webcam and infrared camera in it. It's like, what do I need infrared for? Primarily, the use of infrared is to do things like facial recognition. So if you've heard of Windows Hello, that allows you to use facial recognition in lieu of a password, that IR camera is the element that actually reads your face and does the login. But the third element is proximity sensing. And this camera also has a proximity sensor. There's different technologies of proximity sensing in here, but in a sense, they cover the same thing. They look to see if someone is there, right? In the case, and I'll show you a little clip here at my desk, I use this camera for my login. So I sit down at my desk, and the proximity sensor recognizes that someone is there, right? It detects that motion, which then kicks on the IR camera that does the Windows Hello facial recognition. So I sit down, proximity sensor says I'm there. the IR camera kicks on and says, "Hey, that's Mikey. Let's go ahead and log him in. That's him." And then I'm into my system. So let me show you a quick little clip of that, and then we'll talk about the technologies that are in here. So I want to show you the login process that I talked about a little bit earlier. And this is how I usually start everyone in my mornings. Now, I do want to note, I am not in a completely shut down version of the system. It is in a suspend mode or standby mode. If it was completely shut down, I'd had to hit the power button on the computer. And I usually shut down my system once a week. Or if there's patches, I'll do it. But other than that, I just let it go into standby. But my process every morning of logging in, or when I get away from my desk, I talked about that proximity sensor. Knows when I'm here and when I'm not here. When I'm not here and shows no activity, it says, I'm going to go ahead and lock down the system, and it turns into this. So anytime I come back to my desk, here's really what happens, right? The proximity sensor recognizes something's there. The infrared camera kicks in, which works with the Windows Hello that uses the facial recognition to log me in. 3 different technologies, but it makes a real great user experience for logging in every morning. So here's how it works, right? I just simply get in front of my screen, and it finds me and logs me in, and it was that quick. I'm back to running my PC, and when I walk away, after about 5 minutes and it sees no activity, it will actually bring the system back to a standby mode, and that process works over again. Really great feature. Definitely something you want to implement if you get this camera. Yeah, facial recognition login is pretty cool. I like that with the proximity sensor. Really a great solution. But let's take a look at what some of the hardware is on the inside of this. What makes this a superior webcam? First part of it is that we use the Sony Starvis 4K sensor in this. It is really one of the best sensors in the industry. And if you go out and do a Google search, you'll notice that a lot of high-end security cameras use the Sony Starvis sensor in it, and primarily because of when you're talking about security cameras, you talk about different lighting conditions, but you have a lot of lighting conditions within your own home office, right? And the sensor does a really great job with that. It does have an HDR element to it, and really what I'm by meaning HDR, and I don't want to get too technical about it, but it's how it addresses shading and lighting, because my home office may have different conditions within it. The lighting may change, right? I may have a window by my office, and in the mid noon is a lot different than at nighttime. When it comes to the lights and the shading, and that HDR really addresses that shading aspect and changes of light sources out there. So it does a really, really good job with that. Another neat aspect of this camera is it has an AI-driven auto framing. And auto framing, like right now, I have it turned off. I move left or right, everything stands still. But a auto framing actually follows my face. So as I move left or right, the camera, though it's fixed, actually moves my image to the center of the screen, which is great for conference calls, right? As you kind of move around, you adjust for different things. It still has you in that center of the camera. I don't do it when I do demos because it's trying to follow my face, and times I'm wanting you to see this and not necessarily focus in on my face. So I turn it off, and I have it turned off for this video, but I'll show you that auto framing here in a minute. It is a 4K webcam, like I said before, but you don't have to do 4K. Some people prefer doing high definition. So under 4K, you can get 30 frames per second. Under high definition, you can get 60 frames per second. So if you've got a lot of movement, it's probably better to do it in HD than 4K. But for my conference calls, I pretty much do everything in 4K. So that is the UltraSharp Webcam. Next, I want to move on to the speakerphone. So this is the Dell Mobile Adapter Speakerphone. I've been using this for, over a year now, and it's one of my favorite accessories. But I do have to explain, when we brought this device out, it was before COVID, and the initial intent was this to be a speakerphone kind of slash mini docking station for people to be people that are on the road. What we're finding is a lot of people are using it differently than we initially intended it, including myself. I do take it on the road with me, but I primarily use it at my desk. But let's go over some of the elements of this. So you can see the top. It's a real nice cover, soft cover on the top. But this is the speakerphone itself, and then I've got a few buttons on here. I've got a volume up, volume down, and a mute button. And there's corresponding lights that light up white or red when you put mute on and unmute on there, so you can tell if you're talking live. You also have an answer and hang up. For me, I almost never use the answer and hang up feature on that. It's mainly the mute, the volume up and volume down on there. You can see it's mobile. It's got this nice little cable that wraps up in there. It's attached to it. It is a USB-C cable, and this is what you would connect to your notebook, or in the case that you'll see here in a minute, my Precision engineering workstation that I connect it to. But around the sides, you've got a few ports. And this is where I say, this could be, in a sense, a docking station for you. Right off the bat, one of the things you see on here is you got an HDMI 2.0. So you can support up to a 4K display on here. You also have microphones on this, and these are omnidirectional microphones. No matter if I'm sitting here or sitting over here or over here or over here, right? The speakerphone will pick up people. Again, like I said, initially it was meant to kind of travel and maybe got in a conference room and had a few people around and wanted to all speak together. But I'll show you how I use it. And you can't have multiple people, but if you get up and pace around, it'll work as well because it is omnidirectional. The other thing that you have in this is a USB-C port in here. And what's nice about this USB-C port, you can hook a display to it, right? So you can do display through it. You can also receive data over it. But more importantly, you can actually put your AC adapter connection in here and deliver power to your notebook through here. So this really could be a dock if you wanted it to be, right? If you want to have like up to a 4K display and have this hooked in and your AC adapter, you've got that. And then you also have USB ports on here. These are USB-A 3.1, so they'll do up to 10 gigabits per second on there. You can plug all these little devices and have a speakerphone built in. This is, compatible with Zoom and Teams and Skype as well. It is a echo canceling and noise reduction on here. I've had excellent experience with this, with doing conference calls. This is what I use 90% of the time when I do conference calls. I'll use this device. So it does really, really well with the removing kind of the background noises and any echoing that would be out there. People don't realize that I'm actually on a speakerphone when I'm speaking on it. So absolutely love this device. I'll show you here in a minute how I use this at my home office setup. Now let's take a look at the Dell Premier Wireless Active Noise Canceling headset that I've got here. But before we dig into it, question may arise to you, particularly when you see my home office setup, that I am using both the speakerphone and the headset. And question would be, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you choose one or the other? Personally, I prefer talking through a speakerphone, especially when it's this good a quality, right? Where people don't even recognize I'm on a speakerphone. I don't sound funny in it. So for me, it's just more of a natural speak on it. But there are times, right, that you do need a headset. Like if you work in an office, right, it's pretty rude to just sit there and talk on a speakerphone all day. But even at my home office, I've got my oldest daughter who's graduated on her own now, but sometimes she'll come home, especially during the holidays, and she'll work down here with me. In that case, I can't use my speakerphone because she says, "Dad, you speak too loud and you make all this noise." So I move over to my wireless headset, and this is an excellent headset. But if I had my choice, I'd rather talk on the speakerphone than this. But there are times that I do use this, and this is an excellent headset. First of all, we talk about active noise canceling. So what is ANC? So you've got noise reduction, and noise reduction is really has to do with the foam and the covering over your ears that reduces background sound. But noise cancellation is a technology that basically, if you've got a sound wave like this, it uses the reverse sound wave to cancel it out. Not to get too technical, it's kind of like math. If you have a 10, you get negative 10, you get a 0. It's in the sense of what noise canceling does is it cancels out those background sounds by producing a wave equal to it, and that's how you reduce it. The active noise canceling actually takes it a step further. It is a little more complex in removing background noises that are out there, but it also can handle decibels that are very high. I actually ran into active noise canceling headsets years ago, primarily because I do sporting clays, or sporting clays like trap shooting. I bought my first set of ear protection that had active noise canceling. What was nice about it is, you can fire the shotgun and you wouldn't hear the shotgun. It actually cancels out those really loud noises. But if I sit there and talk to somebody, I can hear them perfectly. And that is part of the active noise. So if a loud noise, something very high decibel, this will actually cancel out those very, very high noises that are out there. So that is the active noise cancellation. What I like about this, one, it's a wireless headset, and it's over both ears, which I really like. I do not care for a single ear. It's more distracting to me to hear the background noises out there. But this simply just drops into to the charger here and charges up the headset. It takes about 2.5 hours to give you a fully charge from zero. It is wireless, right? So no cords, which is nice about this. It has about a 98-foot range in this thing. So if you're one of those people that likes to get on conference calls and pace around, this is great. You could walk all over your house, get all your steps in for the day. Another really cool feature about it is, if I'm sitting here talking and I put my headset down, it actually mutes it off, so my microphone goes to mute. The reverse of it, if a call were to come in and I have it around my headset and I put it up like this, it actually answers the call for you. So this works with Teams. It's Teams and Zoom certified from a platform perspective. You also have a few buttons on here. You kind of have your pause and start. You've got your Teams button over on this side, your microphone, and you have an active noise canceling switch off on there. And the question is, why would you want to switch off active noise canceling? One, if you kind of do want to hear some of the background noises, maybe you want to hear somebody talking, you can do that. But two, some people, if you really spend a long time on active noise cancellation, can get a bit tiresome. It's a kind of a fatigue thing. So some people will turn that off to get rid of that fatigue. But really, really like this setup. And if I didn't mention how long this lasts, right? It takes 2.5 hours to charge from zero, but you'll get anywhere from 10 to 15 hours of time on this headset. So it really is an all-day device. But again, if I have my choice between what I'm going to talk on, it's probably going to be this. But keep in mind, most of my conference calls I do by video. If I weren't doing video, I may put this and pace around the house. So it really depends on how you what your environment is, how you like to work, whether you use video cameras or not. But this is a really an excellent headset, and for me, I like to use both because there are times that I do need to use this. I prefer to use this. So that is the Dell Premier Wireless Active Noise Canceling Headset. So let's take a look at my work setup here. This is my home office. This is where I do my job 90% of the time. and apologize for the mess. I'm not a make it nice and clean. I'm more of a piles person and a function over fashion. But what I've got here is a pretty slick setup. I've got the three components on here up above, like we talked about earlier, the UltraSharp webcam, the 4K. I've got my Premier wireless active noise canceling headset set up here, and then you can see is the multi-port speaker phone that I've got here. And you notice I've got it driving down to a desktop. This is actually the Precision 3240 desktop. So I'm going to say it's about 3 months ago, I actually moved off the Latitude 7400 in lieu of going to this precision engineering workstation. A couple reasons why I did this. And I'll show you why here in a little bit. But one is that it has the power, the power for the buck that you get. It's a small unit. It's not very big. In fact, I've got one somewhere right here. And you can see this is really small. I can go up to 64 gigs of memory, i9 processor, Xeons, and you can go all the way up to an RTX 3000 card. The way I have mine configured is an i9 10th gen core processor. I've got 32 gigs of memory and an NVIDIA RTX 3000 GPU in there, graphics card with 6 gigs of video memory. So a very powerful machine, but I'll show you how you can manipulate or actually use the GPU to better do your video conferencing and as well as the voice that's in here. There's some great strides that NVIDIA is doing around that. So I'll show that in a minute. One of the things lessons learned when I went to the Precision here is power. And I learned this the hard way. Being on a notebook for years and years, gosh, I can't remember the last time I had a desktop for work. I'm going to go back to 1994 when I worked for IBM. I had an OS2 microchannel token ring desktop. So it's been a long time, right? So I had some lessons learned, and one of them was about the power. Behind my house here, we got a new neighborhood going up, and a few times a month, I'll lose power for a few minutes. And under a notebook, not a big deal, right? Power comes off, kind of scrambles your screens and all that, but you're still running because of the battery. On a desktop, when the power goes, right? And you're instantly off, regardless if you're in the middle of a conference call or not. So one of the things I did do, I'll kind of take the camera here and point down to underneath my desk. When you can see my dog, she works with me all the time. But on the side here, I bought a APC battery backup for my system, right? And that really has been a huge savings for me. Saving from having meetings fail, right? So I did a couple things. I bought one for my desk, and I bought one for my router upstairs. So since then, I've had a few times now that the power has gone off. I didn't lose my internet connection. I did not lose my system. It kept working just fine. So definitely worth it to go ahead and pick one of those up. So now let me get in and kind of show you some of the tricks to do to make your collaboration or video conferencing even better. So now I want to show you some little tricks I have with the camera, from the UltraSharp camera, even the speakers and in my headset. One of the things when you get a Dell Peripheral, our goal is that you can plug a Peripheral in and it'll work out of the box, right? That is our initial goal, right? And with the UltraSharp webcam, you can do that. You can plug it in and it works. What you'll notice right off the bat, though, it's like, well, hey, I want to control some of the aspects of it. So if you want to get to where you can adjust things and personalize it, in particular getting to like 4K broadcasting, you're going to need to download Dell Peripheral Manager. It's free, comes with our accessories. Some of my other YouTube broadcasts you've seen, I've pulled that out before and demoed it. But let me pull up Peripheral Manager here. Dell Peripheral Manager, I launch it. And what I'm going to do is turn off my video here and then let you see the aspects of it. So This is Dell Peripheral Manager. One thing you'll notice is that it controls a lot of my peripherals. So mouse, keyboard, my Ultrsharp Webcam. We've got some new accessories coming out in 2022 that we're going to be adding on to it, but kind of the central area where you can control it. So if I come to the camera here in the camera settings, one of the settings is camera control. And I talked about that auto framing. So out of the box, if you plug it in, you're not going to get the auto framing. So you need the Dell Peripheral Manager to be able to set this up. If I turn it off, right, here's what you're immediately going to see. As I move around, the camera's in a spot. I have to kind of adjust it to where I want. I can zoom in. If I need be, I can, change the field of view out there, but I can focus it. And that's not bad, right? I do use this feature, particularly if I'm demonstrating something to a customer, right? If I'm talking about, hey, I've got a Precision 3240 here, and I've got it shown like this, it's much easier when I have that auto framing off. But if it's just a conference call, a video conference call, the auto framing is really great. So I just go over here and click auto framing on. And what you're going to see is that the camera is now focusing on my face. So if I move left or right, the camera is automatically going to frame me to that other spot, right? And you can see it moving around. But like I said, what makes it difficult when I'm trying to show stuff sometimes, it doesn't show up well because it's always just trying to focus on me. But 90% of the time, this is how I have my camera set up. So that's Dell Peripheral Manager and controlling it. Now, one of the other things that you can do, and what I talked about, what I really liked about going to a precision desktop is I have that NVIDIA RTX 3000 card in there. And NVIDIA has some great utilities around audio and video. In particular, something called NVIDIA Broadcast. NVIDIA Broadcast is awesome, but you do need the NVIDIA RTX cards to do it. So you need a little bit beefier of a graphics card. But if you got it, you can really enhance things by leveraging your camera, your voice, and everything through the GPU rather than the CPU, which in those cases is much faster, better performance. And you'll see that. Let me go ahead and launch NVIDIA Broadcast for you real quick. And what you're going to see is you got on the top microphone, speakers, camera. It does an incredible job of canceling out background noises, removing just oddity noises that are there, and echoes. Thing like a dog barking is almost instantly put out. So it's very, very quick and very responsive. But if I go to the camera, one of the things that you'll see here is I've got the ability to turn auto framing on or off. So if I turn auto framing on, what you'll notice is, watch this, how much faster auto framing is when I run it through the graphics card than on the CPU. So if I move left or right, yep, you see how fast that is. It is just a 1,000 times faster than just doing it through the CPU. So again, that was one of the reasons why I chose to go to a precision engineering workstation. Right, I wanted to really have a better collaboration experience, in doing conference calls and video calls. The other thing is with the graphics card, you can actually move some of your applications to run under the GPU. Like for me, I run my Teams and my Zoom under the graphics card rather than the CPU. And the performance is staggeringly fast. And that's one of the things that we all learned through COVID and working from home and starting to do these video conferencing calls. Our PCs aren't strong enough to be able to handle it, right? How many times people say my system is so slow now? Well, you're pushing it a lot, right? When you start doing collaboration, it's a lot of stress on the machine. Now, fortunately, with graphics cards, they're really good at handling things that are multimedia in nature. And so what I do is take those things that are collaboration-wise, and I put them onto the GPU, which frees up my CPU to run 1,000 times faster in itself.
say 1,000 times. I'm being facetious, but my performance is incredible on this system. So that was another reason I had moved to the Precision 3240.
Hope you enjoyed this video clip and a look at my home office setup and how I use these Dell accessories to build a better collaboration solution. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Again, this is Michael O'Hanian, Client Technology Specialist from Dell.